Welcome back to History Bites. Today we repealing back the curtain on one of Israel's most controversial and damaging intelligence scandals, the Lavon Affair. This wasn't a sleek, successful mission from a spy movie. It was a botched operation that went disastrously wrong, leaving a trail of political chaos, ruined lives, and diplomatic wreckage that haunted Israel for decades. So, how did a secret plan to destabilize Egypt implode so spectacularly? What was the human cost? And why is this cautionary tale still so relevant today? Let's dive in. The year is 1954. The brand new state of Israel is surrounded by hostile neighbors. In Egypt, a wave of intense nationalism is sweeping the country under its charismatic new leader, Gamal Abdel Nasser. The British are negotiating their withdrawal from the Suez Canal, and Israel is terrified of losing that buffer. They fear a fully independent Egypt, armed with new weapons, will be an even greater threat. Israeli military intelligence, known as Ayman, comes up with a wild high-stakes plan. The idea? To carry out a series of secret bombings against American and British targets inside Egypt? The goal wasn't to cause mass casualties, but to create chaos. They wanted to make it look like Egyptian extremists were behind the attacks, thereby proving that Nasser's regime was unstable and couldn't be trusted. They hoped this would sour relations between Egypt and the West, and convince the British to stay in the Suez. It was a risky gambit, codenamed Operation Susanna. To carry out this secret war, Amman didn't send in its own seasoned Israeli agents. Instead, it activated a network of local Egyptian Jews. These were young, idealistic people, many of whom felt caught between their Egyptian homeland and their connection to the new Jewish state. They were recruited and given crash courses in espionage, sabotage, and bomb-making by an Israeli handler operating undercover. Their mission was to plant small, incendiary devices in places like post offices, libraries, and cinemas locations linked to Western interests. The plan was set in motion in July 1954. For a brief moment, it seemed to be working. Several small bombs went off in Cairo and Alexandria, creating minor damage but major headlines. But the amateur nature of the operation was about to bring the whole thing crashing down. On July 23rd, one of the operatives, Philip Nathanson, was heading to plant a bomb at the Rio Cinema in Alexandria. But as he walked through the crowd, the device in his pocket ignited prematurely. Flames shot up his clothes. She was tackled by a police officer who, ironically, was trying to save him from the fire. But the secret was out. Nathanson was captured, and under brutal interrogation, he cracked. He gave up the names of the entire network. The Egyptian authorities, who may have already been suspicious, moved swiftly. Within days, the entire spy ring was rounded up. The fallout was catastrophic. The operatives were subjected to horrific torture. Their trial became a massive public spectacle, a showcase for Nasser's government to prove its strength against foreign spies. Two of the agents, Moshe Marzak and Shmuel Azar, were sentenced to death and executed. The others were given long, brutal prison sentences. The mission hadn't just failed, it had backfired in the most public and humiliating way possible. The scandal exploded, triggering a political earthquake. The big question was, who gave the order? The defense minister, Penaz Lavon, swore he never authorized the operation. But the head of military intelligence, Bonomin Ghibli, produced a signed document he claimed was the order. Lavon insisted it was a forgery. It's created a bitter whodunit that tore the Israeli leadership apart for over a decade. It became known as the Lavon Affair. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion resigned over the infighting. High-ranking officials were fired. The scandal exposed deep flaws in the chain of command and a complete lack of political oversight over the intelligence agencies. But while the politicians and generals fought over their careers, the captured spies were left to rot in Egyptian prisons. For years, the Israeli government officially denied any involvement, abandoning the very agents it had sent into danger. They were conveniently forgotten, excluded from prisoner exchanges, their sacrifice erased from the official story to avoid international embarrassment. It wasn't until 1968, after 14 long years in prison, that the surviving members of the cell were finally released in a secret prisoner swap. But even then, their return was quiet. They received no hero's welcome. It took decades for Israel to publicly acknowledge their role. Only in 2005 did the state finally grant them official recognition and military ranks for their service. The Lavon Affair stands as a stark lesson in the world of espionage. It's a textbook example of what happens when covert operations are poorly planned, when amateurs are sent to do a professional's job, and when political leaders refuse to take responsibility. It highlights the immense human cost of these secret wars, the lives of young idealists sacrificed for a failed strategy and then disowned for political convenience. It's a dark chapter, but one that offers critical insights into the ethics of spying and the dangerous intersection of intelligence and politics. What do you think is the most important lesson from this story? Was it the political cover-up, the operational failure, or the moral failure of abandoning the agents? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you found this deep dive into history interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to History Bites, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.